In this futuristic world, they have people that are called splices, and splices are genetically engineered, tooled people who do a specific job.
Indigenous species have been kind of spliced, as it were, and mixed to develop hybrids.
I was told there would be hybrids, there'd be robots, there'd be humans, but they all have a kind of added element. They could be spliced with another species or synthetic humans.
Really, we haven't done creatures per se with the Wachowskis up until now, so this is another new foray for them.
Very early in the film, for instance, one of the backstories on the hybrids is that they are kind of created in these kind of like workshops, and then they're given this branding stamp by the splicer who makes them.
The stamp, you know, the mark of the splicer that bred us, me and Kane. Marcella and Cahoon was in there. She looked bees.
We're working now on Earth on the whole genetic mutations and using gene technology to change things.
Science fiction, taking that to the next level, is involving how people might combine the genetics of different species.
Cherry pick the best from a snake to combine with a human to give that human extra kind of capabilities in the area for which it's designed. The first thing I worked on was the hybrids, because we had to tread carefully and try to find a balance between it not being too over the top and so daft looking. We've all seen those films with animals walking around with 2 arms and 2 legs, and it's just a kind of pull-on mask, and we're trying to avoid that.
We worked to sort of figure out, okay, how to approach these splices and how much to approach it as a physical, practical, kind of photographic reality, and how much we would enhance digitally, and always try to find the right handshake there to achieve the goal.
So we'd have a range of hybrids from very subtle, which Kane is a very subtle splice, to something like Nesh, which you'll see in the Aegis crew, who is almost like a full-on elephant. So we wanted to get that kind of range of genetic combinations.
I contend.
The character that came to be Kane, the first thing that you read is that he's a hybrid wolf. I had no idea what that was going to be. Are they going to CG my face?
Everybody's familiar with kind of Wolfman movies, and what we didn't want was that kind of slightly kind of schlop, we've seen it before, kind of Wolfman thing.
I didn't want to look like a werewolf, so it's like, what does a hybrid wolf look like?
There were a lot of concept drawings that I inherited when I arrived, and then I did a lot more, and it's finding that fine line between cutesy and horror. We end up being much more subtle than we started off, so now all you see is ears, and there's just a little bit of hair inside his ears, and his hair has a non-hair quality by using sort of colours and paints. It's a much more subtle version than we started out with, and I think it's all the better for it.
We have a whole myriad of hybrids and various non-human characters who populate the world and give it variety.
I'm playing a character called Chicanery Knight, who is a kind of bioengineered, half human, half rat. He's rat-like in his appearance as well as in his manner. When they wrote that part, they made him crossed with that kind of a creature for a reason, and did hair and makeup tests just for a day. And I had a whole different costume when I first came in. It was like a long dress. Just a process of kind of coming in, trying things on, saying that looks right, that doesn't look right. And we ended up with what we got, which I love. But I didn't realise it was going to be quite so much makeup. They said it'd be a little prosthetic. I just sit in a chair for 2.5 hours every morning and get a prosthetic attached here and 2 bits here, and then a wig put on top. I see you have the standard issue of Brassic's temper.
Back from the goddamn dead. I play a character called Stinger Rapini, who's half bee and half human, hence the kind of hive-like hair design. I have special powers. Kind of just subtle things, little touches here and there. I mean, I guess it's very difficult to actually act like a bee. He's very fast. He's kind of alert. He understands the kind of hierarchy of a bee population, which is quite fascinating. But, you know, I guess we decided to play more human. So I just have things in my hair. I believe that I'm going to have kind of hexagonal eyeballs, you know, pupils.
Trust is an illusion, milady. I believe only in mutual self-interest. They want another life. We can offer it. The character I'm playing is Maledictes. He's the sort of leading minister to Queen Calique, and he's a rather strange creature because he's a cross between an owl and a human being. He's supposed to be a very wise, helpful minister to the Queen. The owl-like qualities are largely being given to me by a prosthetic piece. They give me a sort of beaky thing and a head, but you have to have a whole head cast done. The first time we did it, it took maybe 3 hours, and now probably it's just over an hour. The design by Kim on this movie is absolutely staggering.
But with Maledictus, we knew that he was an owl hybrid. It seemed believable that the texture and the structure of his costume could evoke the feeling that he had a kind of feathered look. And of course, there's very minimal amount of feathers on his costume, but I think from far away you feel like it has that illusion.
Now, where is Her Majesty?
The two key creatures in this film that were entirely CG, the Sargons, which are these giant winged lizard creatures.
I play Gregan, who's a 7-foot lizard who flies, and also a man with scales and big feet.
The character is over 7 feet tall. He's probably twice as wide, twice as thick as a big man. He's got a 20-foot wingspan.
It's kind of like a mixed match of genetics, really, and we are always going to be looking for the perfect army. You'd think what would be the perfect genetics modification to create that person. So you probably would put an ape there, wouldn't you? You put a little bit of lizard because of the armor. You want the agileness of a wolf. You want the human quality, the intelligence of a human quality. So that's what it is. That's what the whole world's about. It's creating perfect sections of life. You know, Gregan, the Sargons are the perfect warriors and the perfect killing machine.
They wanted a lot of physical interaction between the creatures and their actors, just to sort of add to credibility.
Slam and kill!
And that always involves a lot of careful planning of how to really design that interaction and achieve it.
So in order to try and create something to interact with Channing, we've experimented with putting stunt guys on power risers.
So it took 3 weeks, a lot of falling down, a lot of standing up, and a lot of falling down again. It was one of those things where you just had to get used to doing it. The stunt guys were amazing. They really pushed me. I was really determined to kind of make sure I could move quite freely. In the end, you kind of see these stilts as something, as another appendage, really. They're just my legs, but they're longer. But the problem we had was that basically you couldn't stand still. That was one of my major problems.
The limitations of that, they always kind of feel like they're on stilts. Moving around, the agility's not so good. So what we did is we've hired a English gentleman, Neil, 7'7", 340 pounds, to try and simulate the actual physicality close to what the Sargon will actually look like.
3, 2, 1, action!
On the other end of the scale, the keepers, which were the smaller, shorter, wirier, classic alien-looking species, they were challenging because they're smaller than humans, even though they're somewhat bipedal. It's not easy to have somebody, even a small person, stand in for them. They also wanted their movement to be very kind of almost spider-like or twitchy and alien and kind of unnerving. We did things like take joints, like the knee joint, and bend it backwards deliberately, so that it gives them this very weird look and movement.
The great thing about Lara and Andy is that they are both very involved, but also very trusting of you to come up with ideas, and they're always very generous in their approval or dismissal. It makes you brave and courageous to be in that environment where you're encouraged to be kind of out there and create things that might not work, but at least have a go.
When you work on a film like this, you get to work with not just people that are kind of good at their job, it's people that are the best in the world at their job.
This is a fantastic invention. I mean, the characters that you see standing around on the set are absolutely extraordinary. Quite tough on the guys who have to stand there all day in these big rubber heads, the girls on great big shoes and rubber suits.
When you walk on set and you just see all these colourful and amazing characters that have just built from someone's imagination, and you're like, God, this world is, I want to be part of it. You wonder where they come from, and they're so detailed with the way they want things to be and the way things should look. I'm just stunned by it.
Every day you go on set and there's something new. There's someone with big crazy blue eyes, and you'll be sat somewhere and they'll just be staring straight ahead, and you can't tell who they're looking at. It's these strange robot masks. All of the design is so well thought through, and they're very specific about what they want. The makeup team or the costume team will go to Andy and Lana and say, what do you think of this? Every little detail is thought of. They see everything and they're very concise and clear about their decisions, and it's really great to work with people like that because they have such a clear vision that you know it's going to be something that's from the heart and that's really well thought out.